Yes, we teamed up with the mayor's office and we also teamed up with OTAN. Anthony's here. Thank you, OTAN. We were really interested in looking at the usability and feasibility of new features like an AI tutor that helps learners support with, it gives them with this grammar, translation, pronunciation, and just generally helps English learners boost their proficiency. We're really excited about this because a lot of the new generative AI tools are not designed specifically for adult language learners, but this one is. So it was important to field test because of the promise of and the need for addressing differentiated instruction in mixed level classrooms. So I will just a brief explanation of the funder for this. This is the Institute for Education Sciences, which is the research arm of the U.S. Department of Education. They have these small business innovation research grants. There are multi-phases. The first one, phase 1A, is for proposals to create a prototype, something brand new. Phase 1B, which is what PACE was classified as, is a short-term small-scale usability feasibility study on an existing evidence-based prototype, something that's already out there in the world, but just like needs some fine-tuning so that they can scale and grow. Successful phase 1B studies then move into phase 2, which are longer term, more formal, large-scale randomized control tests to fully evaluate a product to provide the sort of polishing and evidence needed for full-scale launch and commercialization. So we are really pleased that PACE AI invited us to participate in this research. So now I'm going to tell you about the actual phases of our research. So you can go to the next slide, Jackie. Yes, there it is. Okay, so we used mixed methods to look at how teachers and learners were using the PACE AI assistive suite and using that information provide descriptions of use scenarios and also help guide the development to do that fine tuning. Our goal was to see how usable and practical the tool is in real classroom settings and assess its potential for improving learning, gathering insights for future integration in ESL classrooms, and to determine if PACE AI was ready for that like phase 2 study to come. So we focused on 3 areas: usability, its learning potential, and its feasibility in adult ESOL classrooms. Our participants kicked off using the app in August of 2024. Again, we piloted with the mayor's office in Houston and also OTAN in California to recruit some ESOL teachers. In the end, we ended up with 15 teachers joining the study. And after we onboarded them, they agreed to use PACE AI in their teaching 3 or 4 times a week. So that resulted in about 270 students using the platform. Half of them completed all of the assessed readers that we had assigned, and just over 100 of them actually participated in filling out the research questionnaire. Um, our focus of inquiry, our research questions were around learner engagement and progress. So how did they interact with the immersive reader, the different learning modes, the tutor? And then we wanted to see if these interactions actually showed potential for improving their vocabulary comprehension and pronunciation. We also looked at usability, so how easily teachers and learners navigated through the platform and used its features effectively in the classroom. And then the feasibility is looking at how well it fit into existing curricula, programs, the technology landscapes of the setting where they were used. Okay, so the next phase, I'm going to say a little bit about the onboarding process as a preview for Jackie's take on how it all went. So we started with an onboarding process where we introduced them to PACE AI, described the implementation phase, and basically was the final recruitment for the teachers. We asked the teachers, so we created this library of leveled readers and put them in the PACE AI app. These were from reading skills from today's adults, which many of you might be familiar with. We find this to be a very high quality open educational resource that's used across the country in US adult ed settings. And then we drew some comprehension questions from RSTA and created comprehension pre and post tests in order to get some sense of development, of comprehension through use of the technology. So we were directing teachers to ask their students to use these accessibility tools or these assistive suite features called Learn With Me, which is an AI-guided reading lesson that walked the learners through the pre-reading vocabulary, open-ended dialogues, role play activities, and comprehension questions. And then Drill With Me, which is a targeted practice on specific language skills based on formative assessment and personalized to each learner's level. Additionally, we encourage teachers to get learners to use the AI tutor for on-demand support, helping them with things like the reading content, supporting their engagement by answering questions on things like grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, and main idea. Interestingly, this AI tutor can answer back to learners in English or their home language, and it offers support in over 250 languages, which is really important when we think about our multilinguals who speak a range of less commonly known languages. The fact that there's such a range here is really exciting. Okay, so then throughout all of this, we're doing data collection, asking learners and teachers to participate in interviews, questionnaires, and looking at learner engagement data within PACE AI. So next slide, high-level findings. This is the highest level kind of bird's eye, and then I'm going to go into a few other things on a few subsequent slides. Generally, we saw that this AI in particular, showed promise to support the development of productive language skills, that is, like speaking and pronouncing. The PACE AI pronunciation feature really stood out. Learners felt that the real-time feedback that the app provided was spot on and approachable and really useful. Second, we found that the onboarding, this is like not new, of course, with EdTech, onboarding is crucial for adoption and success. Both teachers and students needed a structured orientation and ongoing support to build confidence to use the tool. We found that AI can personalize learning for diverse learner groups. PACE AI's adaptability across all of these languages and proficiency levels allowed for actual differentiated and customized learning experiences. And interestingly, the technology had sort of like a human-centered approach in its design, and through our coaching, the implementation of it and the onboarding, the continuous support available to the end users from a human was super important in supporting buy-in. And really, I guess, important to note for future other developers. Okay, so in the next slide, remember those three areas of inquiry: promise of learning, usability, feasibility. I'm just going to give you like a minute on each of these, and then I'll hand it over to Jackie. So with respect to promise of learning, some of our findings, these are not all of them, but we found that students who had higher engagement with the AI assistive suite had higher learning gains. So use of the app actually did support learning. I want to note that these are not statistically significant findings. We didn't have a methodology and a sample size that would really lead to that, but this shows the promise that supports pushing further into a more wide-scale study for the phase 2 research. 73% of students perceived PACE AI as effective or very effective in helping them improve their English. And the pronunciation app was just so powerful for the students. They felt like they could actually practice their pronunciation in a way where they didn't feel judged. The AI understood what they were trying to say and actually recast in a way that supported their learning. Next slide, under usability. 89% of the learners said that they would recommend it to their peers. The teachers were really satisfied with the tech support that PACE AI provided. And the teachers and learners both said that they gave really valuable guidance for small adjustments to the navigation that could support future scale. And then finally, with respect to feasibility, that is like its potential for use in these settings, teachers valued the personalization and seeing what exercises each student was completing. Teachers noted that PACE AI made it possible to effectively support multilingual classrooms. It actually did help with differentiation. And teachers noted a need. Initially, they had noted a need that they needed to have the competency and standards alignment more visibly reflected in the app. And Pace AI just responded immediately to make that happen. So the big take is this holds a lot of promise, and we are pleased that, we hope it gets into the phase 2 funding stream successfully and with the potential for scale. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jackie. I should note, actually, we are going to have a published report coming out on this probably next week, and we will be emailing it to everybody who is on the registration list. Okay, Jackie, thanks.
Thank you so much. And you guys, I just really want to say thank you for the opportunity to participate. Rachel contacted me and said, "Hey, we're doing this awesome thing." And of course, we're like, "Yes." So one of the things that I always open with is this particular disclaimer, because I really want to share with you the impact that had with the office, and do it in a way that this is an interpretation of what has gone on and our feedback from our particular network. And so in my due diligence, just want to acknowledge that it's not a holistic representation of the city of Houston or any of our government. Um, with the Mayor's Office for Adult Literacy, we are dedicated to supporting the providers. One of the fantastic things that we get to do is to partner and to actually help build pipelines and build ways that providers can advance the way that they are helping their learners grow and achieve the different types of level gains, the different types of meaningful gains for themselves in career planning as well as in their lives. In 2020, we were lucky enough to partner with the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation, and we did some research that developed this plan. It is reflective of Houston. It's called the Houston Adult Literacy Blueprint, but it is intended to be a reference book, a tool, a guide to looking at challenges of literacy and how different strategies can help in accomplishing those goals and dealing with statistics that are particularly challenging. In Houston, we're dealing with the statistic of 1 in 3. 1 in 3 in the fourth largest city in the nation has a population struggling with literacy and basic literacy performance. So this is, again, a strategy. There are goals. The goals within the blueprint itself are seen here for this work, and being able to pilot and create these partnerships that involve digital literacy and really allows us to expand is goal 4, with the workforce and opportunities, and then putting that together with goal 5, which is digital resources and skills. And this whole idea and why it makes sense for our office is one of the primary outcomes of the research that we did was a rebranding of what adult education meant. And a lot of times, most people hear adult literacy or literacy, they're automatically thinking about, teaching people to read, teaching children to read. They're, the kind of one dimensional in that interpretation. When we completed the research, we looked at all the feedback from our stakeholders, and it created this new idea, this new branding of adult literacy, that there is that core of functional literacy, but then it's supported with domains, and we learned contextualized by digital literacy. And so this allows us to make a natural connection for when we get opportunities to work with, World Ed, when we got this opportunity for PACE AI, and to be able to have an opportunity to deal with some challenges. We're always looking at, of course, how to integrate in a more natural way, as natural as we can be. We're working our way through this to naturally integrate technology as a part of the learner experience rather than a supplement or an outside type of training. So looking at the providers that we had and sending out an invitation to them, letting them know that we had this great opportunity come up to test this new technology that would assist the learners, the English language learners, in their instructional experience with each program. We also had some of our agencies that had waiting lists, and they had individuals who were hoping to get a spot. So why not work with those who are in waiting lists in order to help them and have some engagement until they got into the classroom. That's part of where I was able to get involved and actually work on a voluntary basis with a small cohort of Baker Ripley learners who could participate, which really made for another avenue of looking at this as not only a classroom application, but then an opportunity to kind of pre-skill or prep learners before they even go to an official classroom. And of course, we were looking at assisting with communication skills, and then again, putting that all together, trying to make a natural integration, if you will, of digital literacy itself. Now, at first, everyone was excited. They're jumping out the roof. It's like, yay, a new app. We're all right. And so that enthusiasm, that natural sense of, wow, this is something cool. Of course, as we learn, and this is a thing that we have to keep in mind when we're involved in a pilot, we are actually building that experience together. So there were some expectations of an app, kind of in this holistic sense, that may have been premature. The wonderful thing about working with this group was as we noticed things, as teachers gave feedback, Pace AI would take that feedback and tweak it and add. And as we were experiencing this program with the learners, it just continued to expand and grow. Now, this was a thing that was kind of a challenge at times for instructors because it wasn't just that one-time onboarding. It became a continuous kind of reboarding process because as different types of options evolved, the teacher had to be involved to also evolve. And that was really key. Staying engaged with the tool and the learners. And of course, again, understanding that this is a pilot project. So having those realistic expectations and really knowing that we are, engaging in an experiment together and moving forward. A lot of positive feedback from the learners. And this really gave us a lot of encouragement because, looking at the PAC, falling literacy, falling numeracy rates. I mentioned here in Harris County in Houston, Texas, we have a stat of 1 in 3. 47%, almost half, are struggling with numeracy concepts. And all of this was contextualized not in traditional paper and response reporting, but this involved digital responses and digital performance, not just using the machines to answer questions, but to perform tasks. And so again, when we look at the nature of adult literacy and the nature of our office and how, if you recall that graphic, that integration of digital within the traditional foundation of adult literacy, this opportunity allowed us to experiment with how can we impact on a multiple level these types of learner outcomes and experiences, and hopefully start to move the needle on some of our statistics. In particular, with this continued partnership with World Ed, we hope to continue supporting our goal of digital resources and skills. Definitely increasing access and enrollment to these digital and basic skills building programs, to look at more of these learning opportunities that we can engage our providers with so that we can continue this development of higher level digital literacy skills while also compounded with building up those learner skills, that integration of language and being able to communicate. One of the greatest things that we received a lot of impact for was the ability to hear and record yourself, to listen to how you pronunciate, to listen how the AI is engaging and giving feedback. That was a very popular part of this program. And lastly, being able to continue cultivating partnerships that involve innovation and creating digital tools, not just to use for today, but to add to the future and the future success of adult education. And please, if you're interested in looking at the adult literacy blueprint, the QR code is up there. Please feel free to scan that code. Go into the blueprint. It is an open resource. All that we ask is, if you use what's within to note the credit, but that's all. It's there, and it's not meant just for Houston. It's really something that's meant for the entire adult education field.